Hello, welcome to the podcast. This is Rachit, and today's topic is cruise industry. Let's begin. Yes, as the introduction rightly says, I have lost my mind. Well, definitely some bits of it. Getting back to what we have on our mind today, going to cover a topic which is very close to my heart, which is cruise industry. I've been working with cruise liners for what? For past good 5 years now, and before that, I have done 2 years in the past with a gap. Somewhere around 2012, 2014, I was on cruise liners. Then I took a break. Actually, the company that I was working with, I should not be naming them, but yeah, let's just say it wasn't a very pleasant atmosphere. So I was working with them. I took a break after that. Never felt like I'll ever go back to the cruise liners, but that's how life is. It makes you take the decisions that you don't want to. And then I ended up joining another company, which people who know me would know where I am right now. And I can say for the past 5 years, actually 4 years, but I will be completing five very soon if you consider the whole year as of pandemic that is lost. Yeah, I'll be completing 5 years, and it has been all good. I cannot complain even a single bit. The company's treated me very well as I've seen that the other employees that I've worked with, those who work with me, they do pretty well as well. They're doing pretty good in their lives. How have they taken care of us in the pandemic? Well, we'll come to that when we come to discussing the pandemic. As of now, let's begin on why waterways were essential, why there was a need of water transport. Well, majorly, initially, I think it was just to move, to transport huge, heavy luggages. This was the cheapest mode of transport. Most of the items float over water. Well, don't try jumping. You may float if you know swimming, but don't try your luck against an ocean which is so huge that you cannot count the depths of it. So, why do you think were the waterways needed besides the need for transport? Well, it is not just the cheapest way; it is quite efficient as well, carrying huge loads, traveling from southern parts of Argentina to, let's say, a country like Japan, which is halfway across the world, one place on the earth to the other. So that is very important. So while this was happening, while goods were being transported, there were people moving around as well. And as you've got a chance to explore various countries on the way. Now, for example, if you're coming from somewhere in Europe, if you're coming to, you cross over Swiss Canal and you travel all the way to India. Uh, The reason why I'm saying India, because that is where you'll come and find me. So if you come all the way to India, I think it should take you roughly, if not more, 20, 22 odd days is the travel time between, let's say, Southampton to India. And while at it, while you leave from Southampton, you'll be crossing France, you'll be crossing the coast of Portugal, parts of Spain, you'll be crossing Greece, you'll be crossing Turkey. So there is a scope of movement between these countries. So it was a lighter and a cheaper way to transport people as well. And once people started moving around, well, they started wherever you travel, wherever in the world you travel, everybody wants leisure and luxury. So to increase the prices, that is what came in. And that was then there was the birth of cruise lining industry. I think the first ever cruise liner was, if you're saying Titanic, hold your breath. Believe me, Titanic wasn't the first one. I I think right before Titanic there was Normandy. and before that as well, there were two. They were part of the Cunard, the P&O reign. But let me give you the correct name. I I think the first ever cruise liner was Princess Victoria Louise was a German passenger ship, which was from Hamburg America Line. The weight of the ship was roughly 4,400 gross registered tons. She's credited to have been the first cruise purpose based ship which moved from ports to ports, and she was launched on 29th June 1900, like roughly 120 years ago. So cruising industry is that old. So she served with the Hapag until 16th December 1906 after being accidentally grounded off the coast of Jamaica. So that was the first, and then there was Normandy's, and then the Titanic came in. So the breadth of Titanic was roughly 92 feet 6 inches, which is somewhere around 15 times my height, roughly. And believe me, when you come across a ship like a Symphony of the Seas or the new avant-garde that is coming, I think it's on the MSC line, MSC or Carnival. So such ships, when you compare Titanic to them, you'll see that Titanic looks like a tender boat more and less like a ship. But nevertheless, RMS Titanic was a British passenger line ship by the White Star Line, which left Southampton uh, for their maiden voyage to New York City. So when they first attempted crossing the pond from New York to Southampton, from Southampton to New York, that is when it's the calamity happened. One very weird fact: did you know passengers traveling first class on Titanic were roughly 44% more likely to survive than other passengers? So that means now if you're going cruising, if you're booking a suite, if you're booking a royal suite, let's say the presidential suite, then you have better chances of surviving. The industry has taken safety measures so much so that a calamity happening at the ocean is almost as the chances are almost as negligible as a flight crashing from midair. And still, you haven't seen a ship go down off late. I don't think anybody's heard any popular cruise liner going down since the time of Titanic. So I think the industry's done a pretty decent job there. Now, because of the movie Titanic, when was the movie Titanic released? If you can guess, Titanic as a movie was released in 1997, 18th November. Once that movie came out, many people wanted to see for themselves how the industry is functioning, how good or bad the cruising experience is. So a lot of people then started choosing cruise liners as their destination for travel. And believe me, cruise liners are destinations because there's so much to do. There's so much happening on board that it is a destination in itself. Like of late now, very recently, post-pandemic sailings have started. Where from Singapore there are companies sailing where they do a cruise to nowhere, where they're just filling up people. They're going out in the ocean for multiple sea days, and then they come back. So yes, cruise liners are a destination in themselves. So as an industry, because people were so fascinated, see, travel was easy. People started choosing cruise liners as their mode of travel for vacation, because You will enjoy when you reach the destination, but you do enjoy on your journey towards your destination as well. And there is not just one destination when you're going cruising. If you're doing multiple countries, you will definitely have multiple calls in all those countries as well. So, that is cruising. And that is how the industry started booming. There were there were big market players for a long time when Carnival came into existence. So the Carnival company started in 1972, where the first sailing of the Carnival cruise line happened between Miami to San Juan. San Juan, for everybody who's visited, they know they visit that place for the chocolate factory, I think, and the Marshalls. The shopping is great. It's a brilliant destination to shop for guests as well as for crew because it's not that expensive. You got longer duration, you've got late sailing, and most of often than not, you have USPH happening that day. You've got the USPH visiting your ship. Yes, the San Juan is mostly the day when they come on board to check your ship for sanitation and cleanliness. So Carnival came into existence in the year 1972. Royal Caribbean, I think, was founded 4 years before Carnival. It came into existence in 1968. The headquarters now is Miami, Florida, but it was founded in Norway. And that is how the first ship, which was with Royal, the name was Song of Norway. I think I have worked with people who were working on Song of Norway when it was still sailing with Royal. Then I think Song of Norway changed a lot of hands. It moved across a lot of companies after Royal Caribbean had sold it. It moved to various buyers, and now I think it's already scrapped as well. Yeah, a lot of cruise ships these days are being sent to Turkey, not for the Turkish delight. They are going there for killing themselves. The captains are taking them to kill them there. The companies are getting done with those ships. So roughly, I think Carnival is sending 5 ships. Pullman Tour has sent one. Princess has sent a few. I think Royal is sending one or two as well. But those are news. That is something that we've heard. There are 4 or 5 ships that we've definitely seen in the videos that have been surfacing the YouTube, where people are posting that shipyard with 4 or 5 ships crammed in between 2 piers. But while it's happening, there are good things happening as well. Since March onwards till now, I think it's good 8 months now, 8 9 months. The NCL Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings Limited, the stock value that I have now, and if we see the 6 months graph, the value went down from 26.8 USD. That was in June. Well, we have to go before that. Yeah. So the value was 51 USD somewhere in the month of February, and it had plummeted down all the way down to 11 USD. Oh, that's bad. That's just bad. That's what 80% negative nosedive. It went down to $11, and today it is somewhere at 25 USD. So it is just doubled. But yeah, the companies are making heavy losses. That was Norwegian for you. Let's just go to the Royal Caribbean stock value as well, so that we get an insight of how bad the companies are doing. So somewhere around Jan, Royal Caribbean value was roughly 110 USD, and it had plummeted all the way from in 1.5 months from 110 USD. It came down to 27.66. Again, a negative nosedive of 80%. That is bad. And not just the cruise lining industry. Overall, I think the whole hospitality structure of the markets had fallen down because of the pandemic. Number one, nobody's eating out, nobody's traveling. There are serious lockdowns that are imposed over the countries, and even if when the lockdown opens, people are not really keen to travel. Even if they're traveling, they are not keen to eating outside. They're trying to avoid places where they can come in contact with multiple people. Because of that, it has been bad on the overall hospitality industry worldwide, more so over for the cruise liners, because number one, it's a closed environment, and because of being a closed environment, uh, people consider these places to be a place of infestation development. That is why cruise liners have to take their public health policies very seriously, and that is where USPH comes into picture. USPH is United States Public Health, and every ship that has to visit US has to follow the strict, stringent USPH policies on board, and they have to make sure that the ships are clean. The ships by USPH are checked as in they are to be checked compulsorily once in every 6 months. Sometimes it might go beyond 6 months, because at times the ships are not in US. Sometimes the ships move to Europe, and it might take you more than 6 months to come back. And even when you come back, other ships are being inspected, so it might take you slightly more than 6 months as well. That's not a problem. But whenever they come checking, they come in heavy. They do make their inspections very rigorously, and all the findings that are found are reported and are dealt with as well. I remember what I know. I remember the ships being quarantined as well. A lot of ships in the past who have it failed the USPH inspection have been quarantined before the pandemic season ever, before anybody had heard the word pandemic, if I may say. So that happened, USVH happened, but cruise line companies are really doing their bit to hold up, because it's not just the industry, it's not just the company. There are a lot of lives worldwide that are attached to the cruising industry, and because of that, the company is doing their bit as well. What I hear is NCL, Norwegian Spirit, has picked up a few crew members from Goa and Mumbai in India, and they are sailing towards US to take some crew along with them for getting back in action, for resuming the services post COVID. And Royal, I think, had sent some letters, some LOEs to crew members, but I think there's some change of plans there, which we might hear later. So that happened. Then, yeah, actually, when the lockdown was imposed, when sailing was stopped, when there were no guests coming on board, and when there were so many crew members on board the cruise ships, I can clearly say one thing cruise companies did really well. They make sure the crew member was repatriated home as soon as possible. When I say as soon as possible, every company tried to do their bit. Some friends that I had in Marella, it took some time for them, but I think Royal did a very good job. Celebrity, I think, came, which again is Royal. Umbrella, then NCL did that. Disney also did that. So a lot of companies filled in ships and tried to clear crew members from one country or multiple countries are in the same region uh, by the ship. Like Royal had sent Anthem of the Seas to India from US, as well as Ovation of the Seas from the Australian side had come to India to drop down the crew members. So a lot of crew members could get an opportunity to just do nothing, sail for 1.5 month at times, and just reach home. Their repatriation was taken care of really well. The land jobs of all these companies, every company which had land jobs as well, because first, everybody feels that working on board on a contract is not a nice thing. You don't have a permanent job. But look at the situation now where people who had permanent jobs have been laid off. Because you were on contract, you have not been laid off, and whenever the ships resume, you will go back to the ship. You are not on salaries, so you don't have to worry about resumption of services or salary cuts because you have been on gratuities throughout your career. That the pandemic has happened, a lot of people who were working on cruise liners now have found alternate careers. I see a lot of people working in stock markets, cryptocurrencies, fiat currencies exchange as well. Good job for everybody who's doing well in their time, but I am sure there's a lot of people who have not been able to get that job, which some of you have, and you have been sad about it. You are worried what is going to happen next. Believe me, very soon the cruise liners are getting opened up. Very soon they are going to come back in action and try to survive. Try to survive until then. Number one. Number two, this take this year as a learning, and please do not live payday to payday. When I say living payday to payday is when you go vacation, just don't splurge and spend every penny that you have because you have a contract in your hand that you're going to go back in the next 2 months. In such a situation that cruise liners don't know, companies are going bankrupt, it's a bad scene worldwide. When people were worried about recession in 2008, what is happening now is worse than recession, and it is going to impact the world. But the only hope for you is that your companies still have those ships, you still have your contracts, and whenever, as and when the position opens up, when the ships resume, you will be going back on board. So hold on to that hope. Do not take any negative steps. Do not hurt yourself. Do not hurt your family. Try to meditate. Try to engross yourself in something else, and try. See, 60,000 people who are working on cruise liners across other various countries can do something to survive, and other 50,000 cannot. If someone can do something up for their life, I'm sure you can do for yours as well. So try to find out what suits you, try to find out what excites you, what you'll be happy doing. Let's just say if you're a casino dealer and you think you make good burgers as well. I've seen people who've set up shops at streets. Someone who was a adventure ocean person who was taking care of kids and babies on board cruise liners now is a forklift driver. So, no job is small, no job is bad. As long as you found work, as long as you got the will to survive, you'll definitely find something for yourself. You'll definitely find something that suits you. I recently met a guy who was working on my ship. He was working in the galley area, dishwash. Right now, I saw him as a bartender in one of the restaurants that I recently visited. So, everybody's trying to do something for themselves. This bit is my try towards it. Let's see how it goes. And tell me if you do like it. We've already spoken about restart. Education required to work on cruise ships. I have seen a lot of posts, I have seen a lot of blogs, I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube where somebody would post something, even if it is ship tour which somebody's posted, and if not more, at least hundreds send a reply saying, I want to join, how can I apply? So, first things first, let's just divide it into two. Let's just divide the hierarchy into two and then try to look towards it. The cruise liners are divided into two basic structures. One is the marine department, and one is the hotel department. Now, I come from the hotel department side, so I have an idea on what you could do that is important. There are various courses as well. Like there is a BTech in offshore engineering, BTech in marine engineering, harbor and ocean, logistics and supply chain management. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do towards the marine side as well. Now, hotel section. Let us just come to hotels. Are divided into four departments. Here now on cruise liners, one department is has a very major role in front of the guest, but it is not a very big department as such because operationally it is clustered in just one corner of the ship. Yes, I'm talking about front office or guest services, whatever your company calls it. So you've got front office, you've got kitchen, you've got F&B. F&B in some companies works together. F&B in some companies works separately. When I say F&B separately, that means the food department, the restaurant department works separately, as well as the the bar department works separately as well. So that is restaurant and bar. Then you've got kitchen, which is the galley. Then you've got housekeeping. Housekeeping also is further divided into two. Housekeeping is divided into rooms and public areas. Now, when you're talking about these departments, what do you think is the education that is required? For me to be doing the rooms, what is my education required? Well, I definitely need some experience. And when I say experience, it's definitely in a decent property on the land, a decent 4 or 5 star hotel. If you got offshore experience, then you have to have some experience with some ship, at least minimum a contract, and you have to have a valid reason why you did not pursue with that company further. You cannot tell me that you were an alcoholic in the past and now you've sobered up, and that is why you lost the previous job and now you want to get back. Yes, you can do that. It's not a crime, but one thing that I always tell my fellow crew members: no night of heavy drinking is worth your 7 months of salary. So always be careful about that. But that aside, front office is where you have to, working on the cruise ships especially, you have to have the knowledge of the world. Shore excursions we have, you have to know what countries we're visiting, you have to know the local language. If at all you are well versed with the language, that'll be an added advantage to you. What happens is, if there's any problem anywhere on the ship, you will be the point of contact for those guests. Every guest that comes on board is a different person, but when you're coming from a particular region, let's just say people who work on pianos and royals and cunards as well, there's a term that crew members use on board is a UK guest. You have to understand the mentality or the thought of where the person is coming from. You have to empathize, and to empathize, it is very important that you understand the other person. So that is front office. Restaurant and bar. Now restaurant, generally it is classic menu that is served. You've got the coq au vins, you've got the surf and turfs, you've got the basic food, basic cuisine being served at the dining halls, and then generally, if at all you've got three specialities, the next thing would be a sushi or a teppanyaki cuisine specialty venue. So to work at these locations, you have to have some understanding of the cuisine. Now, how will that happen? Is you'll have to study, you'll have to go through hotel school for front office and housekeeping as well, but very important for restaurants and bar and kitchen. You have to have the basic knowledge of how to prepare the setups, how to do your mise en place. These are the things that are required in a way if you want to flourish in your cruising career. So education is very important. You have to have some hotel experience. You will learn a lot in your first 1 or 2 contracts, but after that things start smoothing up, and things do start getting better, and it's not a bad life for everybody who was cursing, or everybody who's is always looking forward to getting their tickets for going back home, getting the next contract. Tell me how you're feeling for the past 1 year that you've been at home. I know, I understand. I think I've got the same feeling as well. I want to go back to the ocean as soon as possible. But until that happens, please, 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 please make wise moves and please take the right steps towards your life and towards your career as well. I will be continuing these podcasts. A lot of information will be coming through, not just on cruise liners, a lot of things we are going to talk about, centric conversations, and we'll try to get some guests as well from various departments who have been working in various positions as well, so that you get better insight. I have my own expertise. There are people who are experienced and who are knowledgeable in some other sections as well. And let's see how this conversation goes ahead. Please, please, please do comment on what you felt about this session. Please do comment on what improvements you want from me, what you would want me to discuss more. I'll try to get some details on the marine education, what is required. But until that happens, please do comment. And as the usual YouTuber would say, please do like, share, and subscribe. I'll repeat this: like, share, and subscribe this podcast with all your close friends, all your aspirants, all the hotel school people, people who would want to go to the cruise industry. Please share with anyone and everyone who you think will be interested in cruises. Thank you very much. I'll see you when I'll see you.